The Department of Public Health will now begin. Call the roll.
He's like, fuck that 150.
Here.
Present.
Present.
Here.
I hope they give you a vacation after this.
I'm thinking about it.
I'm going back on parental leave. Got to take care of those babies.
Thank you very much.
Month off.
Let me read this into the record, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 160-2024 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request. It's an emergency ordinance to make appropriations and provide current expenses for the daily operation of all municipal departments of the city of Cleveland for the fiscal year from January the 1st to 2024 until December 31st, 2024. It has been approved by the finance director, over there, that's you, as well as the law director. Okay, administration is the first one, Department Administration.
Page 180, Division of Public Health Administration, Director David Margolius. Page 182, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $1,026,109. 2024 budgeted, $1,428,385. Page 183, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $1,885,808. 2024 budgeted, $2,521,023. Number of employees, December 2023, 13. Budgeted 2024, 16. Chair.
Sir?
Good morning, Chairman and the rest of Council. Happy to answer any questions that folks have with respect to Public Health Administration. I would just observe a couple of items. Initially is we did increase the headcount in this division by 2, which helps explain the increase in the full-time personnel expense. And then, in addition, the 27th pay, which we've discussed for each of the other divisions.
You had a full-time expense, I see that it went up. Also, professional services, you went in 2023 from $756,553 to $1,422,000. Can you care to explain that? It's on page 1. I'm right past that. No, scratch that off. Scratch that off. Yeah, scratch that off. I know it went up a lot. The hospitalization went up from 181.43 to 293.936 on page 182. That's a small spike.
Yep. Yeah, so to the chair, yeah, so that's explained by the added headcount and budgeting for full staff. The division had vacancies last year. So the actual results were lower than what they would have been if they were fully staffed.
And the vacancies were how many?
Let's see.
I think it might be on page 183.
So to the chair, they ended the year fully staffed. It was during the course of the year they had vacancies. So for the final pay period, they were fully staffed up. But during the year, there were vacancies here and there that they filled. And so the accumulation of that vacant time accounts for some of the lower level of hospitalization and other benefits here. Part of the increase
I see the spikes.
is due to adding the additional staff to the division and assuming full staff.
Okay, I see that. On page 183, your charges for MVM, is that motor vehicle maintenance?
Yes.
Okay, so with motor vehicle maintenance, this is very important, I wrote it down, for car maintenance and the fiscal management, you guys, let's say when they check the car out, do they do a report on the vehicle?
To the chair, it's my understanding that when MVM does work on a city vehicle, they do have a log. They keep a record of the work that is done, so that we're able to track what the maintenance and repair history of a particular vehicle is.
Okay, you guys have a report on that. And then you do inventory, how many vehicles you have, and do you guys do MVRs as well?
To the chair, I believe, yes, MVM does all of that. They keep track of the inventory, they keep track of the work that's done in an effort to maintain and repair our fleet as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, because the motor vehicle report, let's say a quarterly basis or something like that, is it done quarterly or semi-annual?
To the chair, I'd have to ask the commissioner of MVM.
Yeah, you know what a motor vehicle report, we want to know how many points they have because it affects our insurance. Okay. I got some more questions. Down here, we lost a lot of programs in the past before you guys came in this department throughout the years. Example, AIDS programs, lead programs, and you guys have fiscal management in here. That's why I'm asking you that. Do we have a quality improvement this in the administration? Because you mentioned that you have controls in there, evaluation processes.
To the chair, yes. So I think at two different levels. One, each department and the divisions within those departments are responsible for assessing the performance of the organizations and putting in measures to improve where needed. In addition, we have the Office of Urban Analytics that is really designed to help the departments and the divisions of the administration assess their effectiveness, work on process improvement, how technology, for example, can help with our processes, but more broadly than technology, just support the various departments and divisions in their efforts to improve their performance.
Yeah, 'cause with quality improvements, evaluation processes, all that mean a lot to me. I mean, we lost before you came here. The AIDS program was I think it was a $10 million program, and we also lost the lead program because we had no quality controls in our systems. And that's dollars. The majority of this department, how much we're looking at in grants that flows through this department, the Department of Health?
To the chair, we'd have to follow up on that. That's not part of the general fund budget, so we're not prepared to.
But it flows through the administration, and you got quality improvement. But just follow up on that, so I'll know. I want to do a sidebar real quick. Your pool system, you're going to pull, because you have human resources in administration here as well. So you're going to pull people from the pool system for human resources in this department as well, sir?
So to the chair, the human resource function in this division is really to provide the operational day-to-day HR support for the various divisions in the department. Ensure that job postings are up, help ensure that the job postings are up to date and accurate,
Right.
Coordinate interview, hiring, et cetera. Really be the liaison between the various divisions and the Department of Human Resources. With respect to the pool, the divisions in the Department of Public Health are participating in the vacancy pool. And so as with any other division, if they reach their full staffing level, have success in hiring, then as needed, they will request positions out of the vacancy pool to augment the staff that they have.
That's a good system. This morning I got up at 4 a.m. and I was reading through your pool system, and I looked at the human resources, just mentioned it here. It reminds me of similar to Just in Time, where you take assets and you pool the assets. However, but when a department need the assets, it's not sitting around because inventory costs money, and you just pull it out of that system, pool system. Is it similar? Am I correct?
To the chair, yes. That's in general the idea behind this approach is as the divisions need resources in excess of what they already have, then we will be able to in real time provide those resources to them.
Okay, I read it right. I said, this remind me of Just in Time, and it also remind me of when we had accounting. I think it was after cost accounting. You had a pool system back before you were born in the 80s. in accounting where they would take inventory and you pull it together and you pull it out like the just-in-time system. It was in cost accounting. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, I told you, I studied your stuff all the way through. Community health initiatives, that's mentioned in here, but I'll move forward with that. We talked about the car maintenance management, inventory controls, motor vehicle, MVR. When things change, why don't do accounting? We footnote some things sometimes, we put footnotes down, and I don't see it in your book, because it doesn't have to be in the system, but if we footnote things, that would help us out a lot.
To the chair, I think this is a point that's come up in the past, and we are limited to a certain degree in what we can add in here in terms of formatting by the software that we use, which is, I think, as Nicole can attest, problematic and in need of some update or replacement. And so it's really difficult to add that kind of granular context in the book based on how we have to source the data and then compile it into the form that you see. There's really it's not done in a single document. There's no Word document that has all of this data in it. It's pulled from a variety of different sources. So it'd be really difficult to do that given our current software system.
Okay, I got it. One last question. Workers' compensation, he's doing a good job managing that. Is that Ed that manage the workers' compensation?
Yes, Ed Romero and Sonia Brown.
Right, he's keeping costs down. That can really hurt us in our
Yes.
cost of labor. Purchasing and procurement, which is you guys, because you're buying material and supplies. Actually, one quick question. It's not in the book, but I got to be nosy with it. When you do your purchasing and procurement, when you do your purchasing and procurement, let's say, for example, you ordered 5 mugs and you only received 3. Do you guys have systems to catch that, to give us back the money? Because I see it on here, but sometimes you might not get what you ordered. Like even with vehicles, you might order 12 vehicles, but you have 4 on back orders. Do you guys have a system to audit that?
To the chair, yes, and that's one of the reasons why we don't pay for our goods until we receive them.
That's some good stuff. And they let you do that?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. I want to open up to anyone else on page 180, the General Fund, Division of Public Health Administration. Any questions? No questions. So let's move forward to Division of Health, Equity, and Social Justice.
Page 198, Health Equity and Social Justice, Commissioner Lita Wills. Page 200, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $348,031. 2024 budgeted, $729,244. Page 201, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $1,139,856. 2024 budgeted, $2,026,541. Number of employees December 2023, 9. Budgeted 2024, 9. Chair.
Sir?
Yes, so similar to the chair explanation, focusing on the full-time expense here, the division had vacancies throughout the year that have been filled. They are now at full staff, and so the 2024 budget reflects the full cost of the 9 full-time staff members plus the 27th pay period.
That's why the full-time permanent on page 200 is from 339 to 225 to 715. Is that the reason for that spike?
Yes.
Going down your balance sheet, benefits, PRS, Public Employees Retirement System, spiked from $45,290 to $102,000.
To the chair, the same explanation there is during 2023, the division had a number of vacancies, so we weren't making those contributions for positions that were not filled. For 2024, because they begin the year fully staffed, we are anticipating incurring the full expense of those 9 employees for the duration of the year, which would explain the spike in not just the full-time permanent salary costs, but any of the benefits that flow from having full-time staff.
We also, is that the same reason for the spike in the Medicare from 4,908 to 10,588?
To the chair, yes.
Okay. And then you have a huge spike down here in contractual services, professional services, from 33,500. It's on page 200 to 230. You got a $200,000 increase.
Do you know what that is? Yes. So in the contractual portion of this budget, there are a number of contracts included. One is for the division's fatherhood-related work.
Fatherhood is good. That's a good work.
Yes.
Explain that to me some more. I like that.
So in addition to the Moms First program, the division also works with fathers to ensure that they are connected and committed as part of their families, and this contract helps support that. There's a contract with the Merrick House and Friendly Inn, in addition to a contract with some folks at Case Western to help with evaluation of the division's programs to ensure their effectiveness. And then there's also work in connection with helping new mothers breastfeed their children, some lactation services. And then the rent for Erie View.
The rent. Okay. Let's see where you're at. You know, I like the fatherhood piece. Tell the director that. I mean, I like the other stuff,
Yeah.
but fathers matter. And that's very, very important. The dad is there, involved in the children's life. You see the mother, but you got to see the father. He has to be there, and he has to be engaged, and that means a lot to me. Father-son bonding, father-daughter bonding. We have good fathers here on City Council, like Danny Kelly. We were just talking fatherhood. That's very, very important. Brian Casey, I met him when he was doing fatherhood work, and those kind of things mean a lot, mean a whole lot to us. So great outcome measures there. Property rental, I think you mentioned that to me, from 31,000 went up 2/3 to 94,000. It's on page 200. I think I'm looking at property rental.
Oh, yes. To the chair, that's for property rental at Erie View.
Erie View?
Yes.
Okay, I was correlating something with full-time on page 201. Any other questions from any of my colleagues? Yes.
Good morning. Just briefly, Director, the staff amount on page 201 going from 11 full-time staff to 9, were those 2 positions transferred to other departments? I know this division obviously has stepped up in recent years. Through the chair.
Yes, so to the chair, through the chair, those positions were transferred into the vacancy pool.
Into the vacancy pool. Okay, thank you very much.
I gotta study that pool some more. But I kind of figured it out, didn't I?
Yes.
I knew when I left on Tuesday. I said, let me read this. It's just in time. I know you would know from being an accountant person. Any other questions? All right, so let's move further to Division of Health.
Page 184, Division of Health, Commissioner Francis Mills. Page 186, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $1,803,011. 2024 budgeted, $1,934,700. Page 188, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $4,723,980. 2024 budgeted, $5,882,200. Number of employees, December 2023, 25. Budgeted 2024, 29. Chair.
Thank you very much. I want to say I enjoyed reading the director's strategic plan. It was good. It was very, very good. He gave the background history. He explained some issues and concerns. I'm looking at it now in my mind. Here it is. This is good stuff. And if you know what, it would be nice. It would be nice if we had it in the budget book, because the budget is correlated to a strategic plan. I mean, you can't do a budget, really you shouldn't, without a strategic plan. It would tell you how you're spending your money. Are you on point? It gives you some progress. And reading his strategic plan, Dr. David Margolius, he's good. He's a good. The mayor did a great job bringing him on board. I'll tell my colleagues, if you have issues in your ward, David Margolius, as a matter of fact, I walked him in my ward for 2.5 hours. We walked through my ward on a Monday for 2.5 hours, and I showed him issues and concerns, and he was there, and he had a very good understanding, and I like that a lot. You have another good person in Frances Mills. Frances, I think before she worked with the city, she's always been an activist, caring about people. So she's not just a 9-to-5 worker or a Monday through Friday worker. You could look up and see Frances in a community meeting trying to seek to understand what's going on. But I would love if she have a party in promoting wellness, that if we work with the police districts, because health and safety are directly correlated. And a lot of times in those district meetings, health comes up. It would definitely come up. So she was working with the 1st district, 2nd district, 3rd district, 4th district, 5th district. You get into bed with the people there, they would tell her some issues and concerns. And I don't know why we're not doing that. But I would love to see us do that. I'll talk with David Margolius about it, and it would give us some eyes and ears on the ground, and we could do prevention. Because it's already set up, Director. The mobile unit down here on page 185.
Yes.
You might not know, okay, you have vehicles there. Are you guys planning to purchase any more vehicles, or is that in the pipeline to order some more vehicles that can get out into the neighborhoods?
To the chair, I don't know that there are. So let me take a step back. We just are receiving delivery of the mobile unit after quite a long wait. So I don't know that there are plans at this moment to add to the roster of mobile units. I don't know if folks have seen, there are billboards across the city advertising the mobile unit, which I think are great, and they're all over. And I know the department is really excited to get that truck out there to provide services to residents. And then I think we'll see, based on the success of this program, whether it's something worth increasing or leaving as is.
Right. I'm going to let Satena ask you about the Spanish, because you know my Spanish is weak. She laughs at me. She'll speak some Spanish to me, and I'm thinking about something else. But you have to have in those mobile units in the health department, you got to have it in Spanish as well. And she's our expert in that. We don't just want to push it in English, you know, and they need resources as well. You want to chime in on that?
No, I would just, thank you, Mr. Chair, for advocating for the Latinos. I would say, you know, I've been working with Commissioner Frances Mills for years, you know, even with my work at Metro Health, and she gets it. I mean, every time that they're looking for a position, bilingual staff member, she reaches out. So she gets the importance of, you know, doing some screenings and really outreaching to the Latino community. So, I would just, on that point of the mobile, I know that this was purchased last year, and I didn't hear this through the chair to the director. They have one mobile van? Okay.
Through the chair, yes.
And that does all the screenings, right? The
Yeah.
HIV, and do you know where that's stationed at, or how do you book those screenings?
Through the chair, I don't know how they're setting the schedule, but the plan is for the unit to be moving around the city all the
Constantly.
time.
Okay, thank you.
To serve as many folks as possible.
Yeah, Spanish outreach.
And on that, through the chair, presently the division has 3 bilingual staff, and they're actively recruiting
Yeah,
more.
she does good.
All right, that's cool, that's cool. On page 186, professional services, can you explain that from 756, which is 553, there's a spike to $1,422,000.
For the professional services line item, there's a variety of contracts in there. One is a contract with Case Western Reserve. Another is with Metro Health for some medical services. A third is with a staffing company to provide pharmacists and lab tech support. There's also, and then 2 relatively small software contracts to support the work of the division.
Okay,
Can I get a point on that?
point.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to the director, one of the things that I hope to see next year, and I should have asked for this previously, is a breakdown of all the professional services, because I feel like this amount is lumped sum together, but we don't know what services are being paid for. So I don't know if that's too much work, but I see you have a list there, so you have a list of everything. It would be helpful to provide that, especially when the amount is over $1 million. Yeah, thank you. But I think through the chair to the director, thank you for that. It's overall in all departments, it would be helpful for council to have that information. Thank you. Yes, Spencer.
Council lady?
Make it a point, Mr.
Yes.
Thanks. I really also wanted to follow up on Councilwoman Santana's point. You know, when we ask about these line items, there's an explanation, right, that's provided, but there's 2 things here. One is why the jump, right? Why going from a 2023 unaudited of 756,000 and change to 1.4 million and change. So it's not that the contracts themselves, we want departments and staff to be successful and have the tools they need to serve residents, but I think when you're seeing significant jumps like this, it's, you know, to me, there's a running theme in this year's budget, which is across the board, contractual services have increased significantly, and are we, you know, is this too rich for our blood? So, I mean, I think it kind of tag teams with Councilwoman Santana's question about us having a better appreciation and understanding of the various contractual services. And I'm really not singling out the Division of Health here. I'm just saying there's a pattern across this entire budget of significant increases with contractual services. So it's not just understanding what are the services, but why these big jumps? So I would appreciate having a little bit more context for why the big jump. And I don't want to get ahead of our chair, but similarly under other contractual, similar jump in that line item. Thank you.
Sir?
Through the chair, part of the reason for the apparent discrepancy is that we're comparing 2023 unaudited to 2024 budgeted. If you look at the 2023 budgeted, this year's figure is actually slightly lower. So what happened was we anticipated some of these contracts would be done last year and be certified, and they didn't get done. Procurement might have taken longer, negotiating of the contract might have taken longer, but they didn't get executed, so they didn't hit last year's budget and therefore need to be accounted for this year.
So you put them in arrears?
Through the chair, not in arrears, when we built last year's budget, we anticipated a certain amount of activity. Not all of that activity happened because, for a variety of reasons. And so, those contracts still need to be completed, and so that work will be done this year.
Council lady?
Nope, I'm done.
You know what? When I reach out to David, to the director, I'll ask him to not only give us the copy of the contracts, but the evaluation. Because you can have contracts, but if they're not evaluated, it means nothing to me. So
Right.
I need to know where we're at, and are we hitting our milestones, and when they're completed. That will help me out a great deal to try to understand it more. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with that. Now, to page 187, Pharmaceutical supplies, you went from 138, 488
It's a
to
lot,
32,000.
but it's all across the board.
It's a huge drop. I like saving them. Oh, okay, yes.
To the chair was, I think my understanding that the division was able to carry over a lot of the materials purchased in 2023 into 2024, so we did not need to spend the same amount of money this year.
That's a good thing. Councilmember Casey, sir?
Just two things, Mr. Chairman, to the director. On page 184, your output metrics, those numbers aren't just for the city of Cleveland, are they?
Through the chair, no. So anyone can request a birth certificate from the city of Cleveland, whether or not they're a Cleveland resident. So that would just be the number of birth certificates printed by.
And same with the
division.
death certificates, because I don't know. Could have had
Yes.
65,000
Yes.
Cleveland residents pass away last year. When we only
That's right.
That'd be 20% of our population.
That's correct.
That's huge.
And then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, just for the viewing audience's purpose, can you explain the difference between contractual services and professional services?
So yes, so through the chair, professional services are really kind of consulting and services that supplement the full-time staff of the city. So temporary workers, et cetera. The other contractual would be for other items like elevator maintenance, things like that. So there's a difference, and we like, for purposes of our financial housekeeping, we like to maintain a distinction between those two. Ultimately, it's the same. It's below the line other expenses, but we like to track it at a more granular level.
And Mr. Chairman, to the director, I've noticed throughout the whole book, the professional services seems to have increases throughout the department. Could that be because we're not hiring?
Through the chair, I think it's a combination of the challenges we've had hiring, right, and the attrition that we've had over the last several years. If you look at our full-time headcount going back, the last 10 years, or 20 years, it's been steadily down. Unfortunately, when that happens, a lot of our obligations don't go away. So we have to find ways to get the work done with fewer people, and one way to do that is by hiring outside folks. I also think, maybe when there's a new administration, particularly after an administration's been here for a long time, there's, I think, work to be done with new initiatives, new thinking in how to run the administration, and we need some outside experts to really help us think about how to do that work. And so I think it's a combination of the two. But as you know, we've been doing a lot of planning, master planning, a lot of studies of how should we approach certain things in the city, and that comes at an expense.
All right, and then, Mr. Chairman, I just was handed to the director the sheet that Nicole, right? Nicole handed out. I forget your title, Nicole, I'm sorry. Under these other contractuals, where we're doing elevator contracts, elevator inspections, boiler inspections, fire extinguisher recheck, the Department of Health is over at Erie View, correct?
Through the chair, they're at Erie View, and then they have the two health clinics.
Where at?
There's McCafferty and
Jay Glenn?
Jay Glenn.
And then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, do we own those buildings?
Through the chair, we do.
And then, are these elevator inspections and elevator contracts for those buildings and not Erie View, correct?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is a good one. This is a good one. You know what? You mentioned with labor, and we hire out experts, and we give them, we hire service providers. The way I look at it, sometime, you take your workers. Will the unions let us just cross-train workers or do job enlargements, and that way we can save dollars?
I think to the chairman, when that has been the best approach. We have worked with the unions to allow that when there is unionized labor, but when there's not, we ask a lot of our employees. There are folks wearing many hats in the administration, and everyone's working really hard. And I think it's a matter of one, just having the expertise. Sometimes we just don't have the in-house expertise, and it would be more time-consuming and more expensive to develop the in-house expertise. And then the other is when folks are already wearing 2, 3, 4 hats. And there's a point at which, we just need to acknowledge that folks are working at their limit and need to augment that with external support.
You know what? Let me ask you one question. You're 1 second, Councilmember Harrison. I'm looking at their system and their strategic plan. What if you had 1 or 2 trainers? Because training is always, for me, is ongoing. Training is ongoing. So you had 1 or 2 trainers just constantly training workers, and that way we can save cost.
Training happens, I know, in this department and throughout the organization every day. We don't. Sometimes there's specific, a session will be called a training session, and we send employees to those, whether it's done in-house or to conferences, et cetera, to develop our employees. But just in the ordinary course, every day when folks are working together, managers are working with their employees, people are getting trained on how to do new things.
It's ongoing.
And that's essential, if for no other reason, to give our employees more skills, to enable them to do more work and develop themselves, but also to ensure that when we leave, we managers, managers, move on for whatever reason, that we have succession plans in place, and that people are able to step up and continue doing the work that the residents expect of us.
You know what? It would also help us with attrition, with your pool system. If you have a trained workforce, some people leave because they're not trained. And if we had a trained workforce, your attrition would drop. You think?
Yes.
Councilmember Anthony Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. I know we're trying to get through this long agenda today. Just a couple quick questions on the contractual obligations. No, we have John Glenn as well, but I don't see John Glenn on here for janitorial services. Is there a reason why, through the chair?
Through the chair, I'm not certain, but we can follow up on that.
Thank you. Also, through the chair, security services as well. Not sure if while we provide one service at one and not the other, maybe there's a reason. Maybe we have city staff. Don't know, but we would like that information.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at the amounts we have here. And then lastly, Mr. Chair, for even the snow plowing services, is that for J. Glenn and McCafferty, or is that just McCafferty Center? Because that's not at the Alto 55, is it? No.
No.
Okay. Through the chair.
Through the chair, I believe that is at the McCafferty Center. My understanding is that Metro Health covers the expenses, those kinds of expenses for security, et cetera, at J. Glenn.
At J. Glenn? Yeah. Okay. All right, sounds good. Lastly, Mr. Chair, for the services that we do provide, are these bidded out or we direct award? How do you all choose individuals to do these three different activities?
Yeah, through the chair, that would all be done via our sealed bid process. These are services that would be considered commodities. So that's done through the formal competitive bidding process.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Council lady?
Again, going back to the theme of the contractual services and all that rolls up under those numbers, obviously the biggest contract on this list is First Year Cleveland, Case Western Reserve, $500,000. Is that a one-year contract for $500,000 through the chair? And it's just interesting. That's such a significant investment. But when you look under the summary or key programs, it doesn't list First Year Cleveland.
Sir?
Through the chair, it is for the infant mortality program in partnership with Case Western. that contract.
Right. So I think, Mr. Chair, that I would be interested in follow-up just to know, is that a one-year contract? Or is that $500,000 over multiple years? I think that's just interesting for us to understand the scale of the investment. And then I'm just simply noting that, it's not mentioned in the Division of Health summary. It's certainly something that's really important to all of us, but that's just something to note for the future, that when we're making investments of that scale, I think more information could be provided.
Council Lady, I will reach out to the Director of Health. He should have that in his quality improvement and quality controls. And I'll reach out to him. He should be able to give me benchmarks on where they're at on this, so that we know that it's successful, especially with $500,000. So I'll reach out, and I'll make sure that we all have it.
That sounds good. And I think, is that $500,000 a year? Is that spread over multiple years? But thank you, Mr. Chair, for following up on that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because they have evaluation processes on this, and if he could chart it, and you're just giving someone $500,000, we want to know, are they meeting their goals as well as their objectives with the $500,000? I just don't want to know, is it for a year you give them that? That means a lot to us. Good pickup, Council Lady. Any other questions on the
It's Councilman Conwell.
Councilmember Slife?
With the establishment a few years ago of the separate Division of Health Equity and Social Justice, I wonder if it's the case that some of the metrics and programs that might have historically been housed under health are now over under health equity and social justice, which is understandable. It's that they're targeted towards specific populations and needs. However, the Division of Health is, so I know I've been the guy sitting here saying, like, these are the people not spending their budget, and the Division of Health is one that has been about routinely at 3/4 of the budget. So I appreciate the reduction, but it's arguably, if you were purely on, well, you're just not spending it, you could maybe go a little lower, but my caution against that is, in the past 4 years, we really came to appreciate public health, I think, in a way that maybe we hadn't, and that had been kind of a department that had a lot of turbulence. So I guess to the chief, could you comment more on just how the establishment of health equity and social justice has affected this divisional budget specifically? And then, since I do think that health is somewhere where I do want to push and spend everything, it's important, just a little more on the plan to get this budget closer to the 100% mark in 2024.
Yep. Through the chair. So on the first question, you are correct that the establishment of the Division of Health Equity and Social Justice has impacted this division. If you'll recall, in last year's budget, we moved, I think it was 6 or 7 full-time positions from the Division of Health over to Health Equity and Social Justice, and with that moved some of the programming as well. So, if you go back a couple of years and compare the present budget against what was in 2022 and 2021, you'll see that difference will be apparent. With respect to getting this division up to full staffing, we've been working with the director as part of his strategic plan. He has a staffing plan that he's put together. He's been incredibly dogged in recruiting and getting people on board. They've hired, I think in the last half of the year, they hired 15 or so people across the department, which, for a department of its size is really quite significant. And so I'm confident that given the director's focus on getting staffed, now that he's got his strategic plan in place and he kind of knows where the arrow is pointing, that we will accomplish that this year.
I would love to give you a copy of the, have you read it? Have you laid eyes on it? You see it now? Yes.
I actually attended some of the sessions when they were doing it.
So would you like a copy of it? It's completed. What you thinking?
Yeah, I think everyone should get a copy.
Yeah, everyone should get a copy. So I know he's watching, so I'll make sure. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Slight, as well as Council Lady Santana. Any other questions? Vice Chair?
Thank you. Just the same question about the staffing, going from, I believe it was 40 to 25, 40 to 29. Is that moving to the vacancy pool through the chair to the director?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. And I only asked this because I've been in we were on Channel 5 because I was in a 3-week battle about an elevator in one of my senior buildings, and now I've learned so much about elevator inspections. Are we paying a private company for these elevator inspections, or is this a departmental transfer to our building and housing department for the elevator bureau?
Sir?
Through the chair.
Through the chair. So for the inspections, that would be handled by our city staff. For the maintenance work, that's what the contract is for.
Gotcha. So it's like elevator maintenance rather than inspection.
Correct.
Inspections. Okay, great. And then just briefly, do we know who has the janitorial contract at McCafferty, and are they a unionized janitorial service? Through the chair to the director?
Through the chair, I do not know, but we can follow up.
Okay, great. I'd love to add that as a request, is who has that service. All right, thank you, Chair. Those are all my questions.
You know what, when you look at, I was listening to Council Member Kevin Bishop earlier this week. He was narrating about having a painter, and if we had a preventive maintenance program or some kind of division, Councilmember Kevin Bishop, I think we can cut cost. What do you think?
To the chair, wholeheartedly agree. And I have been working with Chief Bonnie Tewin and the staff in Public Works to come up with a frankly more strategic and programmatic way to ensure that we have funding for the ongoing maintenance work that we know we need to do. We know that being more diligent with respect to our ongoing maintenance and repair work will save us money in the long run. In the respect of major capital repairs, building replacement, system replacement, unfortunately, we have not ever really had a defined source of funding for that kind of work, and so it falls, right? It's an easy one to fall to the side, and it's something that as we go through our capital budget planning process, in parallel with the operating budget process, we're really giving a lot of thought to how we think about the long-term cost of a capital project, right? If we build a police headquarters, it costs what it costs to build it. I think too often organizations like the city don't plan for the ongoing costs of maintaining it.
They don't.
So the shiny thing
they don't plan
quickly
for that.
becomes dull. And we are trying to really think about in our upfront planning what that ongoing cost will be and factor that into the decision making that we're going through right now.
Oh, that's great. We'll take a bond out for something, or fleet, let's say if you did preventive maintenance on fleet management. But you know what? Workers, when you train workers, if you're over this certain department and you have a workload, so if you train the workers to do preventive maintenance, that's good as well. They can do small preventive maintenance, and so you can expand the life of a truck or a vehicle capital, say 2 to 3 or more years, and then we can use the money to put it elsewhere to do other things.
Agreed. Yes.
So I think if that was put into our training, and not even wait to put systems in place to have a division, Kevin, council member, for preventive maintenance, it's just in the training. I mean, you working on this instrument, and I think you'll take better care of it if you had a checklist also for your car or your vehicle. Let's say, for example, I work 8 hours as a 12 hours as a police officer. But when I get out of the vehicle, I do a maintenance checklist. With that maintenance checklist, I pass it on to someone else, and then they check it off. So they check the oil, the antifreeze, whatever the case may be, and I won't blow engines. to the vehicle because we're doing preventive maintenance. I think that need to be just in the training.
Agreed.
Yeah, in our culture. Thank you very much. So, any other questions on?
I just got one.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, to the director, for BICAN, 200,000 for indigent relief. Can you explain that one?
What page is that on?
This is, I'm sorry, this is the
Oh, it's
the
fair. Okay.
contracts that we have.
What we have with
It's the very last
In the
one.
contract list. That's not it. Through the chair, I'll have to follow up with you on that.
All right, and then there's a, just to make sure, there's a 200,000 increase request for the health centers for the maintenance, security, and supplies. Under object 6380, other contractual, very first one.
Yes, so through the chairman, that is so the McCafferty Center is in a pretty poor state physically. There was some flooding. There's some boiler maintenance that needs to be done. Added elevator maintenance beyond sort of the typical, day-to-day work. And so this is to ensure that the division has the funds needed to maintain McCafferty while the health clinic is still there.
So with that, that's just more of a security blanket, doesn't mean we're going to spend it?
Correct. Yeah, I think there's some known work. May not total up to the $200,000 extra of ask, but
Okay.
Given the condition of the building, I think we reasonably expect that there will be more. And then on your other question on the BICAN, I just overlooked that I had this sheet here. It's that is for the indigent cremation services,
Okay, all right. Thank you.
and it's a 2-year contract.
There's another book. We have finance, and then in each department, while the process is ongoing, there's an accounting for each department and division that your controller, Gentile, looks at before it even get to here. You mind sharing that book with us sometime, or is it too much to share? It's in each department where you have your debits and credits, you have your trial balance sheets, and each director is over the accounting book. Because this is finance, it's telling a story, but the accounting book is the actual real numbers that I would be interested in looking at. Because then you take from your accounting book and you can forecast certain things, even with depreciation, with the boilers.
To the chairman, that all that information would be in our annual consolidated financial report that is put out every July, which provides the entire financial picture of the city as a whole, and it deals with this is a budget basis presentation of information. Right. The ACFR is on a modified accrual basis, so it takes account for depreciation, other treatments of financial information that give a different, not more or less accurate, but just a different perspective on our financial condition.
Okay, because if you look at depreciation, you kind of know when you mention the boilers and McCafferty, you kind of know that it's only there for 5 years or whatever. But if we do preventive maintenance on it, we can expand the life of the boilers. Mm-hmm. I watch council. We study the finances, but you got to know the background history on where it's at to get to this book here. And if we understood the background history, the accounting system, and how it, from each department, how it flows to this finance sheet, we understand it better. You know exactly what I'm saying, because I read it. We'll put it, it's on the website. We need to push it down, and that way we can study it. Because, you kind of see where we're going to in the third quarter, right around September, where the taxes and fines and fees are coming at. You kind of gauge, are we going to be in a deficit or whatever the case may be, and you kind of know how they're going to transfer the funds because it's in the third quarter. And that's what you see, you know. Now, I look at it. But anyway, let's move forward. Any other questions on Division of Health? Okay, so now let's move forward. This is fun. Division of Environment.
Page 189, Division of Environment, Commissioner Wallace Chambers. Page 191, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $1,067,480. 2024 budgeted, $1,413,854. Page 192, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $1,894,824. 2024 budgeted, $2,585,263. Page 193, number of employees December 2023, 15. Budgeted 2024, 22. Chair.
That's good, thank you. Sir, let's say here, this environment piece, I'm going to make a statement and then I'll move forward. We're going to host a hearing dealing with the environment. When you look at February right now, out there in the air quality and all this kind of stuff, how the environment look bad. I think that, you know, in the cities, in the side lots, open space lots that we should have more trees. We used to have a tree farm that Councilmember Mike Polensek was narrating to everyone. And I also think that we should have vegetation in the lots because of the air quality. We gotta work with like forestry in our environment must coexist. And not just constantly look at building buildings, but we gotta work with those things for air quality and try to save the environment. I mean, that's just where I'm at. So, I had to make that statement. On page 191, hospitalization, you spiked from 175 to 333, 331.
Yes, so through the chair, that's the result of the division having a significant number of vacancies that we are anticipating will be filled. And so as a result, they incurred actual expenses in 2023 that reflect the actual headcount that the division had. But since we anticipate some hiring, we are budgeting for full staff there.
You forecast, as well as with PERS, you forecast.
Yes.
Okay, let me see what else I wrote down. I did. You have caseworkers here. How are the caseload? You have caseworkers on page 190 in your chart. You wouldn't know. You probably wouldn't know. That's external. I was just being nosy with it. Okay, you explain 188 really on page 188 of why with your motor vehicle maintenance. All right, so I yield to my colleagues on the environment.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Who's that down there? Council member?
The two positions that were removed from the Division of Environment, what two positions were there, to the chair?
Sir?
Through the chair, those were vacant positions. I don't know that they were allocated to a particular classification.
Okay. To the chair and to our staff, can you get to us what the two positions were, if they were dedicated to a particular class or not? Just confirm that for us and get it back to us. All right? The reason I ask because, you know, the division, you know, we need more people to go out and address these concerns we have with abandoned cars in yards, trash, junk and debris everywhere. And so those could have been two positions that went for that work that we need here in all of our neighborhoods. All right? You know, Robertson and his crew that he has, you know, do as much as they can, as best they can, you know, but they're a very small group. So those two positions, I'm sure, would have benefited Mr. Robertson, Robert Peterson, I'm sorry. I call him Robertson, I'm sorry. Mr. Peterson and his crew, his staff, greatly, you know, with the complaints, the level of complaints that they received to the department. So, thank you.
You know, Councilman, my assistant told me that Wallace Chambers is very, very good, that he executes well. She was telling me some great things about him yesterday. She would email him on different issues and concerns in the ward. She said, well, less than 24 hours, he's already moved on it, Chambers, dealing with the environment. I would love to meet him. She said he's good. That's a good culture to have. Yes, Council Lady.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, through the director, is this a department that handles all the calls for property when there's garbage and litter?
Through the chair, I think it depends.
Okay, and this is, I'm glad that you responded that way because it's still a department that I don't understand. I know that we send, if it's occupied, we send it to the health department for inspection, but if it's empty, I mean, it's vacant, then you send it to building and housing. So I'm just curious to know, like, what is the plan moving forward with the Residents First initiative on that? And every time I reach out to the department, I have tons of businesses that have litter and garbage, and they don't have the capacity to address that. So I'm just curious to know through the chair, just what's the plan in alignment with Residents First to address that issue with the inspection and the Division of Environment?
Yeah, through the chair, I think this is a good topic of discussion, and it hits on some of the remarks that were made during the mayor's presentation. I think some questions back and forth, where part of the challenge here is that we need to do a better job of making residents aware of who to call for what. So we just need to raise awareness about, if you have this issue, you call environment. If you have this issue, you call building housing. If you have this issue, illegal dumping, you call these people, you call streets, to help make it easier for folks to get their issues addressed. And then I also think, like with a lot of the problems that we deal with, it's a two-way street, and I think we as residents also need to be better about holding up our end of the bargain as well. And I know not everyone is going to do that, but I think like with safety, police are more effective when residents are engaged and supporting that. And I think same with trash, litter, et cetera. If we have more personal investment in our community, I think we can really help support the work of the Division of Environment, Building and Housing, streets, et cetera, in addressing the issues that arise inevitably in our community.
Through the chair to director, thank you for that. So going back to the inspectors, how many inspectors do we have to address like litter, garbage, and waste for commercial? And are the inspectors that do commercial the same ones that do properties?
Through the chair, I don't know where.
Seems like there's a lot of
There-
vacancies in this
Yeah, so
department.
that's right. So in the inspection program, there are 7 positions of the total headcount. 4 of them were vacant as of the development of this book. I know the department has a queue of folks ready to join once that they've been interviewing and are ready to make offers in the next month or so to get this division staffed up. And I think to the councilman's point, I think when, like I've noted in prior contexts, when these divisions fill their vacancies that they've had for a long time and identify a need for more, that's where the pool comes in and they'll make requests. And, this is the kind of quality of life issue similar to the building and housing that if they get to full staff and have other candidates that they believe are qualified and want to have joined the division, then we will work with them to ensure that those resources are made available.
Got it. And then my last question is just with that, right, that confusion of calling health department versus building a housing through the chair director. I'm curious to know, do you foresee like maybe all these inspectors moving under building and housing at one point, or are you guys, is the plan to just kind of continue these 2 different departments? Because at one point I remember director mentioning we weren't meant to do this work as far as inspection, but we're doing it because building and housing didn't have the capacity. But now that with the Residents First, as director's trying to ramp up on her inspection, I'm just curious to know, is this a plan to move under building and housing rather than keep it in the health department? And I yield.
Through the chair, I'm not aware of any conversation on that front, but I think, as with any other similar situation, if there's an opportunity for us to reorganize in a way that is more effective and is a better use of our limited resources, then it's a conversation we'd be happy to have.
Got it. Thank you.
Council Lady?
Thank you to the chair. Just more of a point of information. So Councilman Starr and I have been working, and we actually will be proposing. It's called an ELF tax, excess litter fee. It is basically based out of Oakland, California, where basically high generations of litter will actually be charged a tax, so that we can actually have real investment and support to have people to go out and clean up, because the support is not here, and many of our neighborhoods and communities are litter. It is unfathomable, and it is too much, so just wanted to just put that preview out. This is something Councilman Starr and I have been working on, researching, and we are going to propose it to have debate so that we can actually have real dollars to have investment in people to go and clean out. So.
Thank you, Ms. Councilwoman Jones. If you could include me. I mean, I grew up in a poor neighborhood, but it was clean. It was clean. Now I drive this neighborhood, and I'm constantly organizing residents to go out from other communities to clean up our neighborhoods. It's terrible. And the garbage, the way it's thrown, the waste department, and the waste, they do as much as they can, but what they leave behind, the litter, I mean, I'm sure they don't have the capacity for it. Our city is just absolutely dirty. And you could tell when you come and drive from a suburb into the city of Cleveland, as soon as you enter the city of Cleveland, you're going to see
Trash
litter
and
everywhere,
debris.
trash,
And
yeah.
debris.
Right, and just to add, Chair, and that's really, we are at the point where the talking stuff we are long past that. Until we can get to a place where people are valuing our city, then people are going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's just where we are, so.
Thank you.
When you cut, great points. When you clean up the litter, trash and debris, you keep crime down. And children feel better, safe routes to school, all that, because it looks like you just don't care. So, that need to happen. Plan to have a hearing on it. Any other questions on the environment? Let's move forward. The last one, Division of Air Quality.
Page 194, Division of Air Quality, Commissioner David Hearn. Page 196, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $416,393. 2024 budgeted, $537,656. Page 197, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $1,014,060. 2024 budgeted, $1,256,008. Number of employees December 2023, 7. Budgeted 2024, 8. Chair.
Thank you very much. On page 196, Division of Air Quality, hospitalization, 76,000 to 117,000. The spike there.
Yes, to the chair, that is a result of the division having vacancies in 2023 that we anticipate will be filled, as has been the case in a variety of other divisions.
I figured you were forecasting. Can you, let's say, for example, in this department, in the administration, equity, social justice, because I don't know, I'm just trying to be creative. And their accounting system, could we do fund transfers in there when you see in the same department of public health, from one division to the next?
To the chair, no. So our budgetary controls are at two levels, one by division, and then for each division at personnel and other expenses. And so what that means is we can't move money without a legislative act from one division to another.
Right.
And we can't move money within a division from personnel to other expenses or vice versa without an act of council.
And so with the quality of air, the City of Cleveland Health Department, are we charged with being over the county or just the city?
To the chair, my understanding is that our primary responsibility, of course, is the city, but we do support some of the county's work in terms of monitoring air quality, as the other jurisdictions are also doing the same, making the same efforts. But our employees are focused on the city of
Let
Cleveland.
me see. Is it the same way with the environment also? You know, for example, there's an illegal dump site on Strathmore in East Cleveland. And are we charged with trying to deal with that issue, or is it up to East Cleveland? I'm just giving it an example. I don't know.
To the chair, that would be up to East Cleveland.
East Cleveland?
Yeah.
Even with the air quality?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to know. Any questions on Division of Air Quality? So, thank you very much. Community Relations Board. Thank you, Council.
Thank you so much. If our staff could please read the Community Relations Board.
Yoder S.
5, Community Relations Board, Director Angela Shute Woodson. Page 77, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $1,316,094. 2024 budgeted, $1,502,607.
Community Relations.
Page 78, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $2,117,105. 2024 budgeted, $3,159,005. Number of employees December 2023, 33. Budgeted 2024, 34. Chair.
Thank you so much. Director, Community Relations Board.
Through to the chairman, happy to take any questions anyone has.
Okay. So, Director, it looks like we've got a flat line on a number of employees. Is that correct?
To the chairman, that is correct.
All righty. And then are there any that you would like to highlight noticeable changes in contractual services?
To the chair, yes. So there's an increase in the professional services
Right.
Of the division, and there is the contract with Ohio Guidestone. There is the 10 Points Coalition Violence Prevention Program. There's the arrangement with MyCom and the Cleveland Peacemakers Alliance and that is the Peacemakers Alliance contract that we're putting in for this year is $100,000. But we have remaining money from the contract that was entered into last year to carry over into this year of $275,000. So those are the big picture items in the professional service.
In that account for the increase?
Yes.
Anything else on increase that you would note that I'm not looking at, that I'm not seeing outside of contractual?
Hospitalization. The division has several employees that are paid for by grant funds.
Okay.
But it only covers their salaries. The general fund pays their hospitalization. So that's why the hospitalization expenses in this division look a bit wonky compared to the full-time staff costs, and maybe if you look at other divisions in the proportionate relation.
Thank you for that explanation. Council President, opening up to questions on the Community Relations Board.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions regarding the Community Relations Board? Councilman Chris Harsh and then Councilman Michael Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to the chief. How many positions were moved out of community relations into the vacancy pool?
78.
Through the chair, 0.
None. Okay. And through the chair to the director, what was the targeted full-time positions in the 2023 and 2022 budget? I feel like there were unfilled positions previously that we've sort of moved off, but I want to double check that.
So through the chair, for 2023, it was the same number. There's no change.
20 full-time in 2023.
22.
In 2022, it was 20 as well?
In 2023, it was 22 full-time positions, which is the same as being budgeted this year. And in 2022, it was 23.
23. And this year's 20.
22.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I see it, okay. All right, great, thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Mike Valencia.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, to the director. On the org chart, page 7.6, where are the violence interrupters?
Through the chairman, those are the outreach coordinators as part of the street outreach team.
So that center column, is that what you're telling us?
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. And how many, and again, because this is hard to track in this book, the way this is structured. How many violence interrupters is the administration proposing for this year?
Through the chair, there's no change in the proposed staffing for Community Relations Board this year.
So how many violence interrupters?
There are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's six plus the team manager. So
Okay.
7.
And so, Mr. Chairman, I'll indicate through you and through the director, that is woefully inadequate. 6 violence interrupters in light of what we're experiencing in the city of Cleveland. So it's just, it's not working. It's not addressing the issues that we have. We need to have people in the street engaging with our young people, with young adults, and I can just tell you without any fear of contradiction, that is not working. It was well-intentioned, but there is not enough staff people to deal with this growing problem. I've been told by folks working the street, you need a minimum of 2 per ward. And then some people indicate you need a minimum of 4 per ward to be out there talking, engaging, working with the police, working with neighborhood groups, with neighborhood individuals, trying to identify the kids at risk and engaging them. And so, it's that old saying, you can either pay now or you pay later. And we've been paying later in this city. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to continue to advocate that there be an increase for violence interrupters in this budget. I think to do anything other than that is we're just deceiving our citizens and somehow thinking that what we're experiencing our neighborhood is going to go away, and it isn't. We need folks engaged who understand the neighborhoods, who are working, again, in our schools, working with our police officers, and other entities that are working on violence prevention in this city. So I'm going to leave it at that, Mr. Chairman, and I think, again, this is woefully inadequate. Only 6, think about this, there's 17 wards, you have 5 police districts, and you only have 6 violence interrupters, and that's just not adequate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chairman, if I might, I would make a couple of notes here. First, the division is pursuing 2 different grant opportunities. One, the Mentoring Violence Engagement Initiative grant with the state, and another, the Community Violence Intervention grant, which I believe is also with the state. And if awarded both of those grants, the division would be able to bring in additional violence interrupters. They would not be reflected in the general fund budget, but they would be on the team and paid for out of the grant. I would also note that the division has the contracts with Peacemakers Alliance and other organizations designed to augment the work of our full-time staff with respect to violence interruption. And then finally, 2 of the awards made recently with the city's investment in the Neighborhood Violence Fund that the Cleveland Foundation is maintaining. 2 of those awards went to violence interruption organizations, one focused on youth and one focused on adults. So I think, if we take a step back and look at the broader landscape, there are resources out there that exist today and that we're anticipating coming to help support the work of the Community Relations Board with respect to violence interruption.
Well, Mr. Chairman, in all due respect to the director, there's too many silos out there. Too many people working in silos and not working together as in a unified effort. And so, again, we're spending substantial amount of money on violence interruption programs, but we're not seeing the end results in our streets. And we're not in a position, we need to save more kids out there that are at risk. And I hear that all the time. I hear it from my dear friend Ted Ginn over at Ginn Academy. We need to put in initiatives that are going to save more kids and identify more young adults that are at risk. And under the present structure, I just don't see it happening. So again, the proof's in the pudding, and the pudding that we're seeing in our neighborhoods isn't too tasty at this point. So I can tell you right now that we need to do something different here. That's my opinion, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilman Kevin Conwell and then Councilman Richard Starr.
I want to say something with Councilmember Mike Palencia saying, Councilmember, we have 6 interrupters, 6. You know, when you were you still are the safety chair. You brought in community policing to the chair. Are they having this group to do similar things, trying to gather intelligence, and then they give information to the commanders, or is that how that works? I don't know. I mean, I see them on the ground when I'm out there walking.
Mr. Chairman, to the Councilman Conwell, they're out there to be working with the police, but also engage with the young people in our streets, in our schools. They're supposed to identify kids at risk and try to work with them and identify them and help put them on a different path.
Right.
And so 6 is not enough. It is not enough.
6 is not enough. Well, I see our guy, Miguel. Is Miguel yours? Your guy, same guy? And yours? Yeah, he's out there walking the streets. I mean, I see him around Old Man and some of the bad areas, Councilmember Harrison. And I don't know, are they going to the police meetings, the 5th District or whatever? I don't know that part. But I do see Miguel out in the neighborhood, Councilmember Mike Palencic.
But he's not a violence interrupter. He's just a regular part of the CRB staff, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I don't know the violent interrupters. They might be out there, I just don't see them.
He's one of the 5, I don't know what the title is for that, but he's one of the 5 that work the police district, and Miguel has done an excellent job. Excellent job out there.
So let me switch gears. The charges for the central storeroom on page 78, is that in the community relations system, or there's just a central storeroom and what is that, storekeeper? Would they have inventory control or something like that?
Yeah, so to the chairman, the storeroom is in the finance department, and it is where we get supplies. And so when a division requests materials from the storeroom, then we charge it back. We charge the cost back to the requesting division. So you'll see there's a line item in every division for
Storeroom?
for that. Yeah.
Do you have systems to manage that and institutional knowledge, we have problems with that, with the storeroom, I think in 2002, 2003. Are you aware of that? And it's got to be some kind of systems to monitor and control it, because it's inventory, that's money. Sir?
Yes, to the chairman. Yes, it's much more tightly controlled than it used to be in an effort to ensure that the system is not abused.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I just remembered. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Councilman Richard Starr.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President, as well as Finance Committee for hosting these hearings. Something that I definitely just want to make sure I bring my concern with, similar to like my colleague, the Dean, mentioned Council Palencic, is CRB need more help. And yesterday I spoke about being reactive versus proactive policing. If we have a department such as community relations, which was formed, I believe, in the 50s or the 60s, to do a lot of work that we need in the community, we can't just give them a smaller budget or just not give them enough resources. Well, like we said, we have so many issues, so many problems, 334 homicides the last 2 years in the city of Cleveland, and a division who can be proactive only gets a budget on annual around $2 million. So I'm glad to see that they do have an increase this year budget of $3 million, but to be honest, that's not enough. And through this budget, I definitely want to echo, we need to be able to add more resources to CRB so they can do the work. Me, representing the neighborhood of Ward 5, Central, Kinsman, that area alone in my ward needs more violence interrupters, more individuals, and if you understand the history of the neighborhood, they're segregated. So even though I live on 40th, I don't go down on 30th. But if you look at the public housing estates, the way they're set up, you have 500 or 600 different units in each one of those two locations. So you need people that can be out there helping them be preventative and be proactive on their approach. So we need more funding to get those type of individuals in there. I do see that there's a total of 22 full-time positions. I mean, at minimum, we should be talking about doubling those type of positions to be able to do the work. And I just to say, from this budget standpoint, I know that you did allude and speak a little bit about that budget increase to about an extra $1 million. And from that extra $1 million, do that cover under those grants that you spoke about through the chair to the chief? Or is that just separate, different resources, materials, equipment that created that $1 million increase?
Chief?
Through the chair, so the grant-funded positions wouldn't be reflected here. Grants they generally do not pass through the general fund. So this budget and the increase here is really to cover, having a full staff. So there were vacancies in the division last year. It is now, they presently have one vacancy, and that's for a fiscal person, and they're in the process of onboarding that individual. So they'll be at full staff. And then the 27th pay period, which is increasing the cost for everybody across the organization. And then, as was described a little bit ago, is some of the increase in the contracts that CRB has with other community partners to support its work.
Okay, and then just from my eyesight, I know that they were budgeted for 22 staff members. For 2023, they ended the year obviously with 21. So when I see this increase, I would love to see an increase on full-time staff getting hired to do this work. You can't do part-time work when it comes to being preventive work. Our council president was the actual director of this department, and he can tell you from his experience the calls at the middle of the night that he has to do to direct his team, even though he was working all morning and all afternoon, is constantly around the clock. And I compare it to some of the work that I do over with 3rd District Police when I'm reaching out to Commander Tucker, and it's a Sunday. And he, even whether he's off or not, one thing he told me is, I got officers around the clock. So CRB needs to have some type of strategy where they could do the work around the clock and have the support to be able to get in our neighborhoods. Not a lot of individuals like to go in every part of the city of Cleveland, and that's a reality. But as an individual who doesn't mind going anywhere in Cleveland myself, I understand the work that you got to do in certain neighborhoods versus the work you have to do in other neighborhoods. So I just want to say thank you for this communication, and I do echo and agree with Dean Polenzek through the chair that he said we need more people out here, more violence interrupters in our neighborhoods, whether it's 2 additional or maybe some areas of 4. We definitely have to increase that. And any way we can do that, I think we should do that. Also, working with the county and figuring out how they can understand that despite all of the people's feelings, thoughts, we're still the largest city in Cuyahoga County. And if they're going to give out a lot of funding to everywhere else and not address one of their main cities, then that's something that we need to take up with our counterparts and figure out how do we work together. And I yield, Chair.
Thank you.
Have Councilwoman House Jones.
House Jones.
Thank you. Through the chair to the chief. So we've been having this conversation, and this is one of the things why I feel like the city do too much. I don't know where this falls into it. It's like, should we be engaging in this work? The city itself, right? We've talked about, and the council president brings this up, about the social services, things of that nature. When you look at a organization or a entity which was created in 1945, and when we look at the output of the, hold on, I'm on the wrong paper. Here it is. So it is cultural and faith liaisons, youth diversion, and street outreach. How is that aligning to what? That's a lot. You see what I'm saying? Like, it just seems like it's a lot. We're doing faith engagement, we're doing cultural engagement, we're doing safety engagement with 20 people. Ish. How many people in the division?
22.
22. And again, this is just going back again to my original thing. How can 22 people do that successfully? I don't. And this is the thing, is like, I know we want all these things, but we are not getting the return. And this is just not CRB. I love the folks at Community Relations Board. I'm just talking about as an organizational structure, right? So we have this, I know there's a lot of work being looked into this space of violence prevention, but was that really the intent of the Community Relations Board? Just fundamentally. I don't think it was. Right? And so then when we look at the outputs being in the 3rd district, it's been 2 years for us to even get a representative. 2 years. And so we do a lot of stuff, but can you talk a little bit about what was the outcomes from all of these engagements? What have been the actual deliverables to meet the mission of improving cultural relationships? What are we measuring these things on? And that's the same thing, regarding our police stuff, because it's similar. We talk about how many calls we got. We always talk about outputs, but what is the actual impact of all the stuff that we're doing?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, that's a really good question, and I think it highlights the difference between the output metrics that are in the budget book and what are true measures of impact. And that is work, admittedly, that is not done. We don't have those impact measures sorted out for each of the divisions. That's work that Urban AI is doing. The team from Ernst & Young that has been working with us on the strategic plan has a phase of their work devoted to identifying performance indicators for the divisions, the departments, and the city, so that we can do a better job of measuring the success of our work. At this point, because we're so, unfortunately, early in that process, we have what we have, which is the output metrics. So we know that, for example, the Staff and Community Relations Board is doing a lot of work. We know that they're out in the community doing things, holding events at City Hall for Black History Month, and other sorts of events. What we don't know, what we need to know, I agree, is what is it leading to? Are we seeing a reduction in disputes in our communities? And it could be neighborly disputes or sort of more on the violent side. And I don't know that we have the ability at this point to say that one way or another.
Through the chair to the chief, and this is where I'm going to go. How do we, and I'm saying from city council and administration, at what point do we sit down and actually evaluate this stuff, right? Putting community, how are we impacting our actual impact and everything? Starting with public safety, because that's our largest investment. And then getting out, to stuff like community relations and stuff like that, which to me are potentially like supplemental, additional, ancillary, but I feel like you have to have a very strong foundation before you get the dessert, right? We got to have the main meal before you get things that are desserts. Or maybe it's a thing that we said, no, these are complementary. We need to make readjustments and alignments. But I guess that's the part where I get I'm frustrated because it's just like, we don't have good ties of impact. And I don't know when we ever take the time to actually get to a place to be like, these are the impact benchmarks that we are looking, that then our outputs are connected to those impacts, that then are demonstrated to the Clevelanders to get them from a place of unsatisfactory to satisfactory, at least.
Yeah, so through the chair, I think that is exactly the work that we have to do it. And I think there's a lot of different ways we can measure that impact. It could be as simple as, when we have the new 311 system in place and we're better able to track requests, the handling of those requests, asking at the end of each call or as part of an email, an electronic delivery of a request, are you satisfied or not? So at the highest level, right? Just was that a good experience or was it a bad experience? And then over time, seeing how that has progressed. I would imagine we would not love the results at the moment, but my hope is that over time we would see the results improve. And then getting more granular when you look at programs, we have to be able to assess the impact of our programs in an ongoing and meaningful way, if for no other reason to ensure that we're using our resources effectively. We have, as we all know, having these discussions, we have limited resources that come nowhere close to meeting the demands placed on us. And if we don't know the ways that we're spending those resources are being effective, then that's a problem. And that is central to the work we're doing with the sort of reimagination of the Office of Quality Control and Performance Management into Urban AI, and in this Ernst & Young engagement, because the first step of it is just understanding the data. Like, what do we have? And unfortunately, for a lot of our programs and our operations, we have either no data to even review or very poor data. Mm-hmm. And so what Urban AI's sort of fundamental task is to solve that initial sort of bedrock problem of identifying the data we have and then ensuring that it is of a good enough quality that we can use it to make these kinds of decisions and assessments of our effectiveness.
All right, thank you. And through the chair to the chief, so you talked about this data collection. Is the budget reflective of the analysis specifically from our City of Cleveland team members, right? So a lot of us talk about we need more interrupters and things of that nature, but like for a department like the Community Relations Board, are we actually talking to the people that are actually doing the work? Where are we capturing that in our analysis? Is Ernst & Young or EY doing that type of analysis, and how is that reflected in the budget? Because again, I think it is probably the errors of people that are in leadership. We just do stuff that we think versus really seeding the experiences, the real experts that are actually doing the work to help us guide our thinking and how we can actually retool this.
Through the chair, so one, on the Ernst & Young side, they are working closely with all of the departments and divisions that are in scope of their engagement, and CRB is one of them. So their team has met frequently with staff, and I mean staff, not managers and senior leaders, but actual staff, to understand the day-to-day operations and needs of the organizations. And I'm blanking on the second part Oh, does it? Yes. And then as we build the budget, so we don't just build the budget in the finance department. We start the process in the summer. We get detailed information, requests, needs from each of the divisions, and then we kind of, put it all together and make choices about what we can afford, what we can't afford. And so in that regard, the budget for CRB and for every other division does reflect that input that we're getting from the various divisions. And I think that, you see that in the increase in the professional service appropriation, because, one of the things that they came back to us with was that they wanted to engage with certain entities to support the full-time staff of the division, and that is reflected in this book.
Okay, and so the initial start is we're going to have this restructuring plan of EY that will help drive the reorganization of times of City Hall-ish to 311 in its new reiteration will help us to better track data so that we can begin to have a strong foundation of understanding potentially what our impacts can be based on the amount of information that we're getting out. Is that correct?
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct. And I think an example is, last year, as part of the budget, developing the budget, we looked at the top 10 311 requests. And the top 3 are all trash related. Trash cans, recycling bins, et cetera. And so in working with Public Works and the Division of Waste Collection, we made a decision to change the way the city had historically procured collection bins, which was buy a whole bunch at one time and then not buy any for a while and then buy a whole bunch again. And so you end up with these periods of time where you've run out of bins, but people are still asking for them. And that's how you get these incredibly long and frustrating wait times between the time of requesting the bin and getting it delivered. So the change we made was to have a certain amount of money each year go toward a set purchase of bins so that we have a constant supply. Now, will that supply always meet the demand? Don't know, but at least there will be a constant stream. So we wouldn't have these long periods of time where there's nothing. So I would expect that as this is implemented, as we keep getting annual delivery of waste cans and recycling cans, that the amount of complaints related to the time it takes to get a new bin should go down. We don't really know that, though, because of the way we're collecting data.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And Council Lady, you bring up something that has me thinking through this a little bit, and it makes me think about this budget. Are we doing the budget to try to put out fires, or are we really taking the time to really try to strategically figure out how the city should operate and how we're doing that? And I think that's a broader, real deep dive conversation that maybe we need to spend some time with and some other elected officials, because I hear where you're going with that, but that's an interesting dilemma that I'm trying to think through with this budget.
Yeah, so this is another thing. As the administration is going through this process of like the Ernst & Young, I think there is value in even trying to get like city council to look at it. But I again, offering a suggestion is I think it would do us well of even just city council and county council, like taking times if we went over a process of a 6-month process or whatever, where we are coming together and thinking through, okay, this is our responsibility, this is your responsibility. Well, how do we partner together? How we know? Like, and just taking real time, planning time to really think about what could government or what should government be today and in the future, because we right now are so operating from the early 1900s, and this is not where we need to be. And so this is just what I'm offering. I think there will be some people that will be interested in engaging in this, and hopefully it will help us as we are moving along and as we are evolving, get to a place where we can better and clearly communicate and articulate to our residents our actual impact in their lives to improve the conditions in the city of Cleveland.
Point taken, and also who government is supposed to serve, because we got a city of haves and have-nots, and government really been set up to serve middle class, and middle class is really eviscerated in Cleveland. So I think that's a long conversation that we really want to follow up with EY to really try to understand that, which is why we invested in that, okay? I do have just one comment to what the Councilwoman said before I go to Councilwoman Hairston. Chief, I really hope that at some point in time between Councilman Conwell, Councilman Polensek, Councilwoman Santana, can really have a conversation, because we got about 5 different departments that we're really investing a tremendous amount of prevention and intervention money, and we really need to figure out how we align it, because it's just really cumbersome and it's a lot. And I know the young lady said yesterday as if we should be doing more, and I understand that, but we got to balance that. So if we could think through that. I have Councilman Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't be long. Well, first and foremost, I'm glad that no positions were removed from CRB. That would have been a travesty if that happened. So I'm glad that they weren't removed from the department. So thank you. To the chair, just as a response to some of the comments that you made, Director, the grants are good, right? Glad we're going after those grants, to be able to utilize those dollars to get more interrupters in neighborhoods, because 7 interrupters, one is a manager, and Jock has been doing a lot of work before we brought on the other interrupters for the areas, but 7 is just not enough, right? We were in a meeting at Colin Rexton, the Council Polensek and I, and just the outrage from the residents there, and even just the meetings we have in Glenville and other places, listen, if we can't get police on the streets, we need, what else can we get on the streets, right? And they all, because a few came to that meeting, a few of the interrupters from CRB came to the meeting, and listen, they in fact, they agreed, listen, if, we can't get more police on the streets, then we need to have more individuals who can interact and communicate and work with individuals who may be committing these crimes on our streets, right? But in a different way other than policing, right? What better way is to tap individuals on the shoulder and employ individuals who are from these neighborhoods who at one point may have committed these crimes, and help them be able to address the crimes that are happening in the neighborhood. You cannot go get someone from the west side to come to the east side to do violence intervention work. It just don't work, right? You must tap the shoulder of people who are from those neighborhoods. You cannot get someone from Glenville to go to Huff. You cannot get someone from Huff to go to Glenville. You can't get someone who knows Collinwood to go to Mount Pleasant. It does not work, right? And our director, our fabulous director, Woodson, she knows that. And so I would have liked to see in this budget more dollars for her to provide contractual services to others in these neighborhoods, right? She needs more money to be able to bring people in. If we're not going to hire and cement more outreach workers in these neighborhoods, well, then we need to give her the dollars to go out and contract with people from these neighborhoods at a high level. As Councilman Starr said, part-time wages. We cannot provide part-time contracts but expect full-time results. It don't work. So, as the president mentioned, is this budget aimed at putting out fires or managing situations that we have? Are we truly trying to focus on the issues at hand and really deal with those issues, address those issues, extinguish those fires instead of managing those fires? And I believe, through the chair, to the director, that this budget is a reflection of trying to just manage those fires and not extinguish those fires that we have. We cannot provide part-time funding and expect full-time results. We cannot do that. So while I appreciate the response regarding other grants from the state and other resources, but I also want to know whether there's a commitment, obviously from this side of the table, whether the commitment from the administration is, once those grant sources run out, what is the long-term sustainable commitment through our general fund to keep those individuals working in our neighborhoods, whether they are on a contract or whether they are actually in the Department of Community Relations? Through the chair.
I think through the chairman, that's a good question, and it's part of frankly, the upfront analysis that we engage in when deciding to apply for a grant, because I think grants are great, but if you can't afford to maintain what you're getting, or in many cases match, a lot of the capital grants require matching funds, then it's not ultimately a great idea to go after that quote unquote free money, because it certainly is not free. So my answer to this in this scenario would be the same as in any, is that if we're successful in getting these grants, and this works, the sort of adding the positions works, and we're seeing that we're getting the sort of anticipated return on the investment of the resources, then if and when a grant was to run out, then we would do what we can to find the resources to ensure that those people can continue providing the services that they have been providing under the grant.
Well, thank you for that. Through the chair, we're going to be monitoring the individuals who are brought on and the work that they're doing and the impact that they're having on our neighborhoods once these grants, if we are awarded these grants. And if we could, through the chair, to the department and also our staff, follow back up with notification to this body once those grants, if we're awarded those grants, so that way we know once they have been awarded and when we expect to receive those dollars and when those individuals will be brought on, so that way we can begin to monitor from there ourselves and interact with the administration regarding its impact and making sure that individuals are actually brought on in a timely manner. Okay? Sure. And lastly, Mr. Chair, folks often like to taunt this $10 million investment to violence, this endowment with the Cleveland Foundation. I supported it just to be a team player, right? But I did not like it. We are spreading $1 million like peanut butter across several organizations. Just go back to my comment about part-time funding for full-time results. And so many other people on the list do so many different things, right? Right? And we expect them, for the little amount of money that they're receiving from that grant award, to go out here and have a real impact on our neighborhoods. That's just not realistic. So, I hear that that's often thrown around and talked about, but I don't really expect any impact from it if we continue to spread the money the way we did it this first time. You cannot give somebody $25,000 and expect them to be able to have staff, have equipment, to bring on other support items they need to do the work in the neighborhood. $25,000? I mean, that does nothing for them, right? They'll burn that in gas, rip it and run it all across the city of Cleveland. $30,000, $40,000, come on. So, it's done and over with now, but I think that we should stop taunting this $10 million investment because, as Council Polizek said, either we're going to pay now or pay later. In the way that we're doing this, we're going to pay later. But we're also paying now. So a better strategy, and I hope this body, as we move forward, we made the $10 million endowment. Okay, we'll move on, right? But we need this body, if it's not going to come from the other side of the hall, this side of the hall needs to think of a better strategy to deal with supporting organizations and members in our community to do this type of work to support our neighborhoods. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I have Councilwoman Santana.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to the director. So as far as this department, I would tell you that as a background of community outreach, there are easy ways to measure success. So if that's not taking place, that's a historical problem that needs to be addressed. But there's pre and post tests that you could do and so forth. But anyhow, I'm not here to let the department know what to do. I will tell you through the chair, we have one Latino liaison. We just did a ribbon cutting for a welcome center. Mm-hmm. And the reason the executive, county executive did that is because it just confirms the population is growing for non-English speakers, right? And so there was a huge need there that moved them forward to do this this welcome center. All that falls on my office. All that falls on Chris Martinez. Mm-hmm. There's one liaison in that department, community relations, that gets paid under $50K to serve 70,000 plus people in the city of Cleveland. When he's not able to serve those families, that falls on in my office. I have 1.5 staff members. So it's very difficult for me to serve Latinos across our city. We try to do it as much as we can, but in this body, I think there's only 2 Spanish speakers throughout our city council office. And yes, 3. Lisa was added. So it's a problem that we need to address. And my mediator, and I won't say my mediator, second district mediator does not speak the language, meaning we're adding additional tasks to Martinez's plate, right? I'm not sure what's going on, but as you know, the city of Cleveland, neighbors are not getting along with each other, so I'm constantly getting calls for this mediation. And Chris Martinez, in addition to planning events, building relationships, being out there in the community, that's a lot of work. You have to continue following up, engaging, kind of sustaining what you're doing. So I just want to kind of plant that in your ear of the pay and adding more liaisons to this department to address non-English families. Or you know what? And that's not only Latinos. I mean, this is city of Cleveland's becoming a melting pot, and I'm seeing it all the time. There needs to be more Asian, Arab, and all this international representation that will link these families to city service. So I yield with that.
Okay.
Can I get a point on that?
Real quick, we got 2 points requested. Councilwoman, would you allow that point?
I'm actually done.
Okay, so then nobody else is on the list. So Councilwoman House, you can go back on the list.
So this is another thing, right? When we talk about again, going back to organization, would that be a city service or a county service, right? Of looking of understanding the growth in our population to be, multi-ethnic, multicultural, and what is our partnership with the county in understanding a full, immersion experience when you, transition to become a resident here in the city of Cleveland and Cuyahoga County, and how are we leveraging it to be a part of a team? Like, that's one thing. No one should be working in isolation. Like, people should be a part of a co-government, intergovernment team in order to carry out this global welcoming transition that we are making. So again, I don't see how, how our budget is reflective of that. Again, and it's the same thing to me where I know that, Ward 7 has their Asian services, but there are so many other cultures I'm not connected to. I don't know where to start. And it's just, you're just in the dark. And so, and again, I'm feeling like, where is the best source to get the needs or get connected to people that we know are here. They are contributing taxpayers, but I don't have a way to effectively communicate and engage with them.
Yeah. Can I add something to that, a point, Chair?
Yes.
I would say to totally get that, the county, and we need to do a better job in partnering with the county and really understanding what they're doing. But let's just say I get families for permits, Office of Opportunity. So if we're not hiring bilingual or multilingual staff members within these departments, it's going to fall on community relations, which then will fall on council. So just kind of, but they're not calling really. I know people think Latinos move here and they all need social services and jobs. No, I mean, they really want to contribute. They pay their taxes. They want to open a business. They want to do work with the city, but we don't have that platform or, that pipeline in place to help address these issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Conwell.
I just want to piggyback on to Councilwoman Santana. Chris Martinez, I mean, last time I saw him, he was out working on a Sunday, and he had his family out there with him. And this guy does great work. He loves doing but he has to take care of his family, so we just got to try to figure something out. I respect him a lot. I like him. And you're right, he put on events, and he's just out there. And if, I didn't know he made under $49,000. I just didn't know that. And what you don't want to do, you don't want to lose him because he have to take care of his family. So if you, some kind of way, could look at it at a kind of way to help him out. I didn't know it was under 49 until I listened to the council lady over here. You know, I'm shocked because I always see him working. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Spencer.
Just very briefly, Council President, I wanted to thank Councilwoman Santana for requesting the breakout of the budget detail, including contractual services. Just wanted to note a number of members are kind of monitoring and/or wondering about how much the city is paying outside landlords and rent and associated costs with renting office space, and we were not aware that Community Relations Board was renting office space at 55 Erie View. So wanted to briefly raise that question about when that occurred and what is the office space need for CRB at 55 Erie View.
Yeah, through the chair, it's my understanding CRB has had space in Erie View for some time, and the space down in the basement is not large enough to accommodate all 22 employees when they're there, and so they have this extra space over at the Erie View building.
Can I give some context to that? I know I shouldn't because it's not my department, but it used to be the health department used to carry the rent for CRB.
That's right.
So the juvenile diversion and approximately it's about 5 to 6 positions that have always had to go over to 55 Erie View because there was no space. And I know we've been having a lot of conversation, and I'm probably guilty as charged, but I probably grew the department a little bit fast when I was there, and that's why we had to get another office like that over there.
Yeah, and through the chair, just on that, the Council President's correct. The health department held the lease historically for Erie View. In the I think in last year's budget, we changed that practice. They still hold the lease, but now we charge each of the organizations that actually use the space. We don't put that budget burden only on the health department. So last year, I think, was the first time we saw rent figures for organizations like CRB in the budget book because of the change in our approach.
That's good. You good, Councilwoman? All right, thank you. Councilwoman House.
So this is one of those areas, right, where I know we have, we are renting space in Erie View. I mean, since we have, what they say, 200 plus buildings or whatever, why are we not embedding City of Cleveland staff in our city buildings? From recreation departments, police departments, wherever we have space, why are we not utilizing those dollars to go into city services so that we can have more income that can actually fix up these buildings? And this is the thing, we cannot, like, and that's why I feel like we got to get out of City Hall, like, wherever. Like, I mean, what does that look like to the chief of, like, for all of these contracts that we have, we are leasing spaces and other places paying premium dollar, and those can be reinvested back into our own infrastructure system. What does that look like?
Chief.
Through the chair, so I think, yes, we have a lot of city-owned facilities. I think the issue is that they're not presently suitable for organizations to locate in. To retrofit some of these spaces would cost considerably more than we spend a year in rent. Now, that said, I know the chief operating officer and her staff has been reviewing at least the sort of downtown area of all the city buildings and to determine how we can better and more efficiently use our space with the objective of eliminating the need to rent space at Erie View. And that work is ongoing. I can tell you the costs of, for example, City Hall, there's far greater capacity theoretically in City Hall than we're currently using, just the way we have the building laid out. But to get the building renovated to actually allow that vision to be played out would be prohibitively expensive. So I think there's this push and pull of the capital costs of renovating and retrofitting spaces would be in the tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, which is just out of reach given our current condition.
So through the chair to the chief, so this is one of those things of understanding completely, and I guess maybe that would be, maybe, I don't know if it's DPS or municipal services, to really understand what that is, because this is one of the things, it's like, we have the buildings, but we can't use the space, so we're renting from somebody else, but we don't have the money to take care of the buildings that we have, and we don't have a plan to actually we are in like this consistent downward spiral, and we are not making the hard, necessary decisions to figure out how can we more effectively use our dollars. And so if we have spaces that we feel are not suitable for our people to work in it, why do we still have the space?
Well,
This is just a general question. You see what I'm saying? Like, we have to get to a place, and if the things and the facilities that we have are such an exorbitant expense to properly fix and invest, we have to stop putting money into them and downsize and get to a place where we are fully utilizing the spaces that we have. And it's hard to see this because we don't have the layout of what this looks like. I don't know in the engagement in the conversations, but this is just, it's just not, we can't continue this way. We cannot continue this way, and I'm going to continue to bring this up. We have too many buildings. We need to close some buildings. People are not going to like it. That's why they are sorely underutilized.
And that's, if we could, because that's really under property management, and I know that Councilman Bishop is going to be having that part this afternoon, but I just want to make sure that Councilwoman brings up some great points, but I want to make sure we park that where we need to. Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you. I did want to get a brief point on the question of, I think Councilwoman is raising a number of important points, but on the question of how much rent we pay to private landlords for our staff, I think that is in the list of requests to the administration for this budget hearing process. What is the overall nut? Like, what is the overall rent we're paying? I think this body needs to know that. It's broken out across many departments, but we need to know the overall outlay. And I do believe that's in our list of requests. The other thought escaped me, but I think that is one that I think we need to have a command of, and it's part of the question that Councilwoman is seeking. Oh, I was going to mention, I'm glad to hear that the COO is exploring. Sounds like through the chair to the director, it sounds like the COO is exploring this question of how we're utilizing space, and I don't know when the body would expect to hear back from the COO with the findings of that study and that process.
Okay, we'll work with property management through Councilman Bishop's committee. But do you know when that will be taking place, Chief?
Through the chair, I don't know exactly when it'll be ready, but I know the work is ongoing, and I've been collaborating with Chief Tewin and her team on it.
All right, we'll work closely with Councilman Bishop, okay? All right, seeing no other questions regarding the Community Relations Board, we'll move to the next, which is the Office of Prevention, Intervention, and Opportunity for Youth and Young Adults.
Page 93, Prevention, Intervention, and Opportunity, Chief Sonia Pryor Jones. Page 95, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $1,152,513. 2024 budgeted, $1,555,334. Page 96, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $4,266,174. 2024 budgeted, $5,031,213. Number of employees December 2023, 19. Budget 2024, 35. Chair.
Okay. Chief, do you have any opening?
No, happy to take any questions.
Okay. Just remind me, and I want to make sure that I clarify this. When did we legislate this for a department? So this is a standalone department, or is this part of the mayor's office?
So it is an office that has its own budgetary structure. It is not a department as contemplated by the charter. So that is why you'll recall any legislation that is for PIO, it authorizes the finance director to enter into contracts because I act as the director on PIO's behalf.
So this is something that legally we should think through and talk through, because one of the things that concerns me is this is almost an additional appropriation for the mayor's office, in essence, because pretty much if it's not a standalone department, it's just an extension of the mayor's office, right?
To the chair, budgetarily, no. So any appropriation made for PIO must stay in PIO. We are not able to move funds outside of the budgetary control.
We'll just make sure we'll follow, if Ms. Odie Martins, if we could make sure that we understand and have our attorneys look at that part, because I know we got a couple of things that we're having them look at, okay? On that point, Councilman Starr.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, too.
Also, can we have our staff check if that's the case, they're not a department and there's like an extension of the mayor office, is civil service employees allowed to work in the cabinet through the mayor, through the chair, or can our staff check in just for clarification of that?
Ms. Odie Martins, could you make sure that we have that? Okay? All right. The other thing that I have just quickly was around professional, other contractual. So they don't handle those contracts that used to be with the outside organizations for street outreach and all of that anymore, because at one time, wasn't that in their budget, but now it's in CRB?
To the chairman, yeah, I think the street outreach contracts will be held by CRB. The contracts that PIO holds are for services generally provided at our recreation centers. Occasionally, there will be at other facilities, nonprofit facilities in the city, but their work is really predominantly focused on the rec centers.
All right, and then you have food and other supplies. That looks like it's a pretty big jump. Why is that big jump in expenditures for food and other supplies? Is that because you anticipate doing more special events, outreach?
Yes, so to the chairman, that is for to provide food for the youth cabinet that PIO is establishing, and then there is a youth summit, a series of youth summit events anticipated for the summer, and then also funds for Hoops After Dark.
So maybe my institutional knowledge may be failing me, but you might want to double check, because if this is not a legislative department and it is not a standalone department, there are only, I think, 2 or 3 departments in the city that have the authority to actually buy food and procure food and give food, which I think is CRB and Rec. But that used to be, maybe that has changed, but that's something if we could make sure that we follow up and look at, because I'm not sure they would even have the authorization to actually make those purchases.
So that's one of the things, to point of information.
Those just want to get clarification.
Just point of
I'm not sure
information.
if that is the fact, but
So that was-
it used to be that way. Just to
And
let
so, again, if that is a thing, I know I recently talked to Chief Pryor Jones regarding that and really trying to work to get legislation to do that, if that's the case. But again, if, yeah, well, we'll just say that.
That's my only point is, if that's what we need to do, that's why I want to make sure I clarify it if that is the case, okay? All right. That being said, I have Councilman Mike Polisic.
Thank you.
Councilman Chris Harsh, Councilman Richard Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues. The salaries and wages, full-time permanent, on page 95, what does that reflect, that increase? Does that reflect, we know there's pay raises, but is that increased staffing? What is that represent?
Through the chair, it's a few things. One is the extra pay period we have in 2024,
Okay.
which adds expense. Also, the PIO did have a number of vacancies throughout 2023, which reduced the amount of expenditures. They now, I believe, are at one vacancy, so in which we anticipate that they will fill. So we're anticipating the full cost of that headcount that will be incurred.
Now, the board members, do they receive compensation?
Yeah, through the chair, yes.
And can we get an updated list of who's on that board? Mr. Chairman, through the director?
No, they don't have a board.
Well, then, what is it?
The commission, I'm
Or
sorry,
the
the
whatever
Black
you wanna
Women
call
and
it.
Black Women's Commission, Black
Oh,
Women
so
and Girls
that,
Commission.
okay, so that's
Yeah.
what that is.
Okay,
See, I
I
was
was about to-
confused when I'm looking at the book here. So there is no quote-unquote advisory board for this section?
Through the chair, that's correct. There's the Black Women and Girls Commission,
Okay.
which has 15 members, 12 of whom are paid. The three who are not are city employees.
Okay. So during the presentation before the lead up to the budget, was there a request as it pertains to the employees that are working there where they're all assigned to? I'd like to know where all of them are working at. Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, I believe they're all, I mean, their office is City Hall, but folks are out in the community each day. The
So
PIO's office
there's
is on the
nobody
third floor.
permanently located outside of City Hall at the rec centers?
You want to answer? If you want to clarify that, but yes, they have office here, but they also work in different rec centers.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but I...
Councilwoman House, you had on that, but you want to allow Councilwoman House that point?
Yeah, but
Councilwoman
again,
House.
last time I looked, this was the administration.
I
right?
got you.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
totally there. But
Okay.
would you allow Councilwoman
Yes,
House?
yeah.
Point? On that point, then we'll go right back. Councilwoman House.
For the social support specialists, there are 8 of them, and each of them are assigned at least 2 recreation centers, and they float between the recreation centers depending on when or if recreation actually allows them access to them. So they float between recreation centers, and yes, you're making that face because some of them, they're there, but they don't actually have a space.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
I'm sorry. And I think he wanted to make sure he got a follow-up
Yeah.
from the administration if we could.
Yeah.
Through the chair, yes, that's right. So the social support folks they're assigned to rec centers. They float between them, but the rest of the staff is here at City Hall.
Because, Mr. Chairman, to be very blunt about it, I'm really not clear what they do. I'm in and out of the Collinwood Rec Center all the time. And I need to get some better understanding, because, here we are, we're talking about, we're allocating funds, and we've got these silos. We had the discussion yesterday at the table with the police commission. They funded 26 groups. We've set aside the $10 million for the Cleveland Foundation. There's other foundations out there funding and supporting other alleged neighborhood initiatives surrounding violence and other issues. I'm just trying to get a better understanding. There's a substantial amount of money going into this section. And you said, Mr. Chairman, the council never voted to create a standalone apartment. So those are some of the discussions we've got to get into, and we've got to get a better understanding exactly who's doing what and what they're doing out there. Because again, we're not seeing the end results. I'm just hearing if there's people coming to the rec center, they have no place to go or to utilize. And then once they're there, what are they supposed to be doing at the rec centers? I mean, I don't get it. We're going to have to drill down on some of this stuff far greater, because if not, all we're doing is throwing money and funding whatever alleged we're funding, and we're not seeing the end results. I want to see the end results. I want to know what's going on for sure at that Collinwood Rec Center. And if they're engaged with the kids, are they are they doing, what they're doing. I want to get it definitively pinned down, and I'm sure all my other colleagues want to get it pinned down at their rec centers as well, or their facilities, as to what PIO is doing. It's just, man, $5 million here. That's a lot of money. A lot of money here. And I can't figure out for sure. If someone around this table can figure it out, please tell me. But I sure as heck can't. I'm looking at the people shaking their heads, same thing. I mean, I need to know definitively, Mr. Chairman, what they're doing. I know what CRB's doing because I'm engaged with them. But I'm sure there's some, some well-intentioned thought here, but I don't see the end results. I'm going to leave it at that, Mr. Chairman. We got some work to do.
Through the chairman, I would say a couple things. So the social support specialists are operating much like social workers in the rec centers. They're there as a resource to help youth and families deal with issues with the hope of those services being a deterrent and a preventative measure for violence, right? I think the distinction between PIO and CRB is PIO is really focused on our residents before the violence happens to try to prevent it. Yep. CRB is often, there when the violence has happened, right? They're responding to the event. And so in addition to the social service support work, through its contractual efforts, PIO ensures that there are a variety of programs at our rec centers so that the children and adults have opportunities for this more productive, constructive activity to help get folks off the streets. So that is the ultimate work
on the calendar.
Because, Mr. Chairman, to the director, but I hope you're hearing my concerns. $1 million yesterday to fund 26 groups through the commission, police commission. $10 million through the Cleveland Foundation to fund I don't know how many groups, okay? Separate. We awarded that money to the Cleveland Foundation. Then we've got other agencies out there that have been awarded funds. We are also funding groups through CRB, awarding funds through CRB. So we've got all these groups in these silos or bunkers, as another person referred to them, and do we all know what they're doing and how they're integrating and working together, or are they not working together? That's what I'm not clear on here. We've got to get a better understanding. I think it goes back to we want to see end results in our streets. And I'm not seeing it at this point. And maybe it's still too early in the process, but I'm not seeing it. But we're funding a lot.
Yep,
So I'm going to leave it at that.
Through the chair, I think while there is always room for us to improve, I mean, internally and in how we coordinate with all the external organizations that are doing this work, I think PIO and CRB do work closely together and help ensure that there are no cracks, or if there are, they're few and far between in the continuum of support that they are providing to youth and adults throughout the city in an effort to prevent violence, and in the event that we are not able to prevent it, to address it and ensure that it doesn't balloon into some larger conflagration.
Chief, can we do this because we're delving more into the operational side? And what I would recommend, and I'm going to talk with this side of the table, is that we literally schedule a day over in the convention center or someplace in City Hall where all of council is invited to really sit down and do a landscape analysis of all of these different programs. Because for the last 2 years, we continue to wrestle with this, and there are people all over this spectrum. And I think in order for us to get a good grasp of it, you need to just get people in the room just to understand the landscape analysis of this.
Can I have a
And I
point?
think that's going to take multiple chairs from multiple directors from multiple departments, because we're not going to really solve that today. I have some institutional knowledge of how it got to this point, and it was supposed to be streamlined, and it wound up ballooning. And that's why I think it needs to be a reset on some of this, but that's a conversation that I think we're not going to really solve at this table. We're going to really have to roll up our sleeves and bring people in and have an honest conversation. But Councilwoman House on that point.
So for the safety initiatives, the city of Cleveland is involved in Cleveland Thrive, right? Which is supposed to be our structure to collaboratively bring everyone together. Cleveland Thrives, they actually have usually very frequent meetings. The next meeting for Cleveland Thrive for cross partnerships is on Wednesday, February 28th. It will be happening, right? They have a list of working groups who have been working everything from safe routes and safe passages, data and evaluation, training and community violence interruption development, programs funding supports, community convening, communications and engagement, as well as policies. These are work groups that, A, have been funded through the policy that this body funded. Now, people have to figure out, do you want to be involved in it? Do you send a representative to go so that you can stay informed and engaged in this work? These things are consensually happening.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Chris Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify, because the other contractual in this department is over 50% of their annual budget, closer to 60%. Have we asked, Mr. Chair, for a detailed breakdown of who's receiving the other contractual? Did somebody ask for that?
I wish we could have that
You
for
did?
every department, yeah.
Okay. So that request is in, and we can break that down and figure out where that 2.8 million is being contracted? We'll get that.
Workforce, just FYI, we went through the.
Can we make sure everybody comes through the chair if we could, please? Thank you.
Okay. Then the only other comment I had, Mr. Chair, is that we talk a lot about consolidating, we talk a lot about being efficient, we talk a lot about not duplicating resources, and there does seem to be a clear duplication of resources, and potentially we could streamline some of this and see a lot of this more efficiently deployed, more effectively deployed. And it seems like the administration will be talking or wanting to have a conversation about Parks and Rec as a standalone department or division or whatever that right word is. And I think some of that could get into departments like this that spend a lot of money at rec centers that might better be housed in the budget of those rec centers, particularly as they respond to specific neighborhood needs. So just a thought process on that. And I look forward to seeing how this other contractual is broken down. It is something gossiped about quite a bit.
Chief, did you want to jump in? We had that all requested, so that's all. Okay. All right, Councilman Starr and then Hairston.
Thank you, Council President. Just some clarification on the different things. Based on my research that I did quickly, I believe the mayor's office cannot have boards or commission and non-union staff report to him. So my question is, based on how this is set up, how does the Black Women Commission serve under a non-legislative department?
Chief?
Through the chair, I don't know that, respectfully, that this is the right forum to debate the legalities of these organizations. I can say PIO is not part of the mayor's office presently. It's not budgeted that way. It doesn't operate that way. If there are questions about the structure, I think the law department would be happy to answer those definitively, but I am a lawyer, but I'm not here as a lawyer, and I don't know that we have any other lawyers around the table, so I think we should leave it to them to tell us what's what.
Okay, thank you. And just for clarification for the record, I know that we did with CRB pass legislation to allow them to purchase food for some of the community engagements that they do. So I think that's something we may need to look at when you think about the PIO to make sure we are doing everything right. But my question would be, through I know in October of 2022, we passed the ordinance with that DOJ grant, which was $1.9 million. And I know that within that grant, there was funding for like a half $1,000,000, $500,000 for violence prevention organization. I know there was $495,000 for violent interruptions as well, for PIO to be able to train individuals, train organizations, and provide their resources, which was included in that grant. Since October 22nd, I'm not sure what PIO has done as far as that part of the grant. I'm not 100% honest. So through the budget, have they utilized that funding? I know it's not in this budget, but I see it's contractual. So I think the grant possibly may be in here because I don't know how they have $5 million with 2.8 for contractual. So my question through the chair to the chief is, are they spending that money? Has that money been spent? Because it's been October 22nd since they have it, and I'm not 100% sure of any training they have done, but I am aware of the work that CRB is doing as far as training. So do we have any understanding of if that money's been spent through the DOJ?
Through the chair, that grant is what is supporting the work of Project Thrive. I know that the money has been expended. I don't know, sitting here today, what the amount is, but that money we have paid invoices in connection with that work. None of that grant money is reflected in here, so the total appropriation for PIO of just over $5 million is the combination of personnel appropriation plus the contractual and other minor items.
Okay, thank you. And that's just something that is important. And then also, I just want to highlight what is fair. When you deal with violence in the city, we have to be honest. And it seems as if there's some confusion or some inner working issues, maybe, because if we have CRB with a $3 million budget since 1945, and then we have an extension of organization of a PIO, which is $5 million, why wouldn't it be a point where PIO should just be under CRB? I mean, that seems like it would make sense if you're going to start something new, add it into something and boast the work that someone's been doing since 1945. And with that type of staffing and additional staffing, I think CRB with PIO under them could do some great things. And then also, if I'm speaking openly, including Parks and Recs. So I think they all fall under the same type of cross-cultural relationships that we need in our city. So working in that way can be probably helpful, I think. And we could possibly get more people inside our communities doing the work. So through that grant, I definitely see that we just got some information. I'm definitely going to dig deeper into this just to understand how they can work together. I would definitely love to sit down, Council President, and that's all I really have for that.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Councilman Anthony Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I'll be brief. I mean, because it's clear that there's some concerns regarding this PIO. I won't say department because it's not a legal department, but this division. I'll just call it division. And I agree that as I go back and look at CRB's budget, there's about $3 million budget for the Community Relations Board, who's an actual department, an actual director who can make actual decisions, right, and sign actual documents. But we have a $5 million budget for something that was never intended to be actual department, but as the president said, was supposed to be a streamlined way of supporting different activities and issues in our neighborhoods. So I'm concerned that as we talk a lot about efficiencies, right, and doing things in a more meaningful way, right, and I look at this as the complete opposite of what, the administration has been talking about for quite some time, about efficiencies and working across departments, streamlining things that we do, because this department seems to make up a lot of everything that others do, right? And if you ask me today, I will fully support, this $5 million going to the places where it should be going in the departments to better support these same activities that this department is doing. Listen, I think Ms. Cash would do very well down at CRB, right? She's very connected to the community and does really good work. And so just wanted to add my 2 cents in, Mr. President, as we've heard from many colleagues around our thoughts and concerns regarding the PIO division. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And, I would just end with this, just as a person that was very close to this. I really think that whole conversation of everybody really getting together and having an honest conversation, because what you'll find is this arena is very political. I'm not talking about just ours. I'm talking about theirs as well. And there's a lot of competition between those social service organizations because their pool of dollars is shrinking because the money that they used to get from other philanthropic groups and other things are shrinking. And then other groups that used to be a lot of annual support that they would get has redirected dollars to workforce and economic development. And these folks are suffering. And it's a longer conversation. I think it's going to take far more experts than me to really kind of put it all in perspective. But it's an arena that is very, very big and very, very political. And we just need to really give some history and some background on that. So we'll move on. Go ahead, Councilman Conwell, point on that.
Thank you very much. I think that, and even the black women and girls, they're missing the point on dealing with funding. Your state reps and state senators can advocate for you for dollars. Also, dealing with the operational budget, and the governor himself has some dollars that he could. You just got to go downstate, and you have to advocate also for money that's down there as well. My colleague used to always see me downstate, knocking on doors. Stephanie House Jones, don't leave that Jones off. But she would catch me down there asking for money. So it's dollars down there as well, and it's TANF money, temporary assistance for needy families, that they could go down there to advocate for other funding streams. But a lot of times, either they don't know or they just won't do it. And in the state rep, well, you got the state rep look on right now. You could talk with your state reps and state senators, and the council lady, she knows that. But they just won't do it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other questions, we'll move to Office of Sustainability. The goal is, ladies and gentlemen, if we can move relatively quickly, I would love to try to get through Office of Sustainability, temporarily break, and then come back for the last 3 departments. That sound like a plan? That's fine. Please read the description.
Page 85, Office of Sustainability, Director Sarah O'Keefe. Page 87, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $652,233. 2024 budgeted, $813,240. Page 88, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $1,051,327. 2024 budgeted, $1,440,763. Number of employees, December 2023, 11. Budgeted 2024, 12. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Prim, do you have any, I said call her Ms. Primer. Ms. Gallagher, do you have any opening statements?
No, but I will be glad to take questions.
Okay. Any questions for the Office of Sustainability? Any questions for the Office of Sustainability? All right, no questions for the Office of Sustainability. Seeing no questions for the Office of Sustainability, I really wanted to save building and housing for when we come back. If we can take a break, we could do it 12:30, And the reason why is because I know that they have some green sheets that they want to submit. And if we go into building and housing, it's a good chance we probably won't get done until about 1:30. So what I'd rather do,
We could, this is efficient.
All right, let's do building and housing. Let's go ahead. Read building and housing, and let's go ahead into building and housing. Let's keep it moving. Go ahead, building and housing, and then we'll take a break after building and housing. Now, if y'all keep us here for 2 hours, I'm leaving. And taking a break myself today. Please read building and housing.
Building and Housing Director's Office, page 274. Director Sally Martin O'Toole, page 275. 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $1,874,186. 2024 budgeted, $2,308,542. Page 276, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $3,317,149. 2024 budgeted, $4,717,286. Page 277, number of employees December 2023, 27. Budget of 2024, 30. Chair.
Thank you. Any opening statements, and did you share the green sheets that you talked about earlier?
To the chair, no opening statement for the director's office, and the green sheet is for the Division of Code Enforcement.
So it's strictly for code enforcement? Okay. All right.
Code enforcement.
Code enforcement. All right, so building and housing, any questions regarding building and housing? Councilman Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just briefly wanted to make a comment. You know, we held operational reviews during the fall. I think they went very well. You know, we had a very robust discussion. For those who don't know, you know, building and housing has been at our table, at our committee, you know, several times over. We've held 5-hour-long sessions, although related to a particular ordinance. Obviously, other things about the department crept into those conversations. So I will hope that this body found those to be useful and very impactful as it relates to providing information they, you know, requested regarding the operations of the department. So just wanted to make that statement, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Hairston. Any other questions for the Building and Housing Director's Office? Councilman Richard Starr.
One question I would just say is, and with regard to the violations that actually occur, and if someone is fined or for something going on with their house, is it a system set up that fine and that funding comes back to building and housing?
Through the chair, the revenue raised through the work of building and housing goes into the general fund.
Yeah, I would definitely like to explore that option, if we could put that down for staff, because if, you know, they're catching people doing things, I think it's a great relationship if you can be able to have those inspectors out there getting those individuals, and if they get ticketed, they get fined, some of that revenue should go back to the department so it could create some additional sustainability that building and housing definitely need. And that's just all I had, Council President.
All right, thank you. Any other questions regarding Building and Housing Director's Office? All right, please read Department of Administration. Or she just did that?
Code Enforcement.
Code Enforcement, thank you.
You're going to do that?
So
Page 278, Division of Code Enforcement, Commissioner Thomas Vanover. Page 280, 2023 unaudited salaries and wages, $5,057,537. 2024 budgeted, $6,102,089. Page 281, 2023 unaudited total expenditures, $8,145,880. 2024 budgeted, $9,074,141. Number of employees December 2023, 82. Budgeted 2024, 90. Chair.
Okay, Director, any opening statements?
yes, to the chairman and the rest of council. So you should have received green sheets that were passed out.
Did we get the green sheets?
No, we don't have them.
How does he have one?
No, that's not. We never, who was supposed to get them to us?
There's several
Yes.
Who was supposed to get them to us? Because nobody got them this morning. I tell you what, can we do this?
I can describe it, and then we can.
Let's do this if we could. Can we take a break? Because yesterday I had everybody eat cold food. That's why I was trying to get us out of here.
Yeah.
So can we take a break and then we come back for code enforcement? And we can reconvene at, let's do 12:30. Is that okay at 12:30?
Yep.
12:30? So we're going to take a brief recess and we'll reconvene at 12:30, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.